The Babadook isn't a monster story. It never was. There's no ritual to perform, no ancient curse to break, no final battle where the evil is destroyed. Because the real horror in this film doesn't come from something supernatural. It comes from something deeply human, and that's why it lingers. Before the Babadook ever appears, the tragedy has already happened. Amelia's husband dies in a car accident while driving her to give birth. That detail is not incidental. It permanently binds motherhood and trauma together. Samuel's birth and her husband's death occur on the same day. From that moment forward, every birthday becomes an anniversary of loss. Every celebration carries emotional conflict. Joy and grief become inseparable. But Amelia never truly processes that grief. She suppresses it. She functions. She works. She survives. But she never confronts what she lost. Unprocessed grief does not disappear. It waits. It shapes behavior quietly, it distorts perception slowly, and eventually, it demands attention. The house reflects that emotional stagnation. Muted blue walls, cold lighting, narrow hallways, rooms that feel smaller than they should. Even during the day, the environment feels dim. There is almost no warmth in the frame. The house is not haunted, it is heavy. It mirrors Amelia's internal state, constricted, isolated, emotionally frozen. When the pop-up book appears, it feels intrusive rather than magical. Its illustrations are sharp, dark, aggressive. The story inside describes a presence that grows stronger the more it is ignored. That is not coincidence. The book does not introduce horror, it reveals it. It gives shape to something already present inside Amelia. When she tears the book apart, believing she can eliminate the threat, it returns. Reassembled, more detailed, more violent. Because repression does not eliminate trauma, it reorganizes it. The harder she tries to suppress her emotions, the more forcefully they resurface. Samuel's behavior further complicates the situation. He screams, he panics. He builds elaborate weapons to defend himself. At first, it is easy to interpret him as unstable, as the problem. But children are highly sensitive to emotional shifts. Samuel senses the tension in the house. He feels his mother's exhaustion, her resentment, her emotional distance. His fear is reactive, not irrational. He is responding to instability, not imagining it. Notice how the Babadook itself behaves. It does not follow traditional horror logic. It does not stalk strangers. It does not obey mythology. It appears in fragments. A shadow stretching across a wall. A distorted figure in a mirror. A presence barely visible in the corner of the frame. As Amelia's emotional repression cracks, the monster becomes clearer. More defined. More aggressive. The creature gains strength in direct proportion to her denial. It feeds on avoidance. The less she acknowledges her grief, the more power it gains. And that is what makes it disturbing, because it is not an invader, it is a manifestation. One of the most revealing moments in the film occurs during Samuel's birthday. Amelia refuses to celebrate on the actual day. The date itself is emotionally loaded. When she finally takes him to a party, the environment feels overwhelming. Bright lights, loud children, chaotic energy. Samuel does not fit in, and neither does she. The other parents observe her carefully, judgmental, detached. This scene is not about embarrassment, it is about alienation. Amelia exists in a suspended state of grief. She cannot reintegrate into normal social life. Isolation strengthens repression, and repression strengthens the monster. Psychologically, buried emotions do not vanish. They resurface as irritability, as fatigue, as displaced anger. The Babadook operates as a visual metaphor for that process. The more Amelia insists she is fine, the more unstable she becomes. Her patience dissolves, her voice hardens, her control erodes. The monster's voice grows louder as hers becomes harsher. When she finally confronts the Babadook directly, something shifts. She stops denying, stops running, stops pretending she is unaffected. Her scream is not fear, it is release. And the creature recoils, not because it is weak, but because it has been recognized. Recognition reduces its power, suppression fuels it. In the final act, the Babadook is not destroyed. There is no triumphant victory. Instead, it is contained, locked in the basement, fed, maintained. The film does not promise that grief disappears. It suggests that grief must be managed. Trauma does not evaporate with time. It requires acknowledgement, structure, maintenance. The final image of Amelia calmly feeding the creature is not comforting. It is controlled, measured, routine. Grief becomes something monitored rather than denied. The Babadook was never about a monster hiding in the dark. It was about what happens when emotional pain is buried instead of processed. The horror was never supernatural. It was psychological. And that is why it lingers long after the film ends. If you enjoy breaking down horror films and uncovering what's hidden beneath the surface, subscribe to Scary Film Reels. Because the scariest stories aren't the ones with monsters, they're the ones that feel real.